This last weekend was the USC UCLA football game. It was the 80th meeting in one of the most storied rivalries in college football. And I fell asleep. I went to USC. I played at USC. Well, I sat on the bench at USC. But the point I'm making is that USC football is still, it's one of the few things that I still get really emotional about. And I fell asleep. It's not that I don't care anymore. And it's not because we're on probation this year. And notice I said we. I haven't suited up in 30 years and I'm still saying we. So yeah, I still care. I watched every game this year. I watched last week, USC Notre Dame. I definitely watched that one. And I did not fall asleep. I stayed awake during every heart-pounding, frustrating moment. And just asked my daughters. And at one point I screamed so loud, I scared the crap out of them. So I still care. I mean, after we lost to Notre Dame, I was numb. I was depressed. Okay, maybe not clinically depressed, but now that I think about it, that would have been an improvement, because at least I'd get some medication. Instead, I had to resort to philosophy. I tried telling myself, it's only a game. The problem is, I don't believe that. It just goes deeper than that. It's not just a game. And when somebody says to me, hey, it's just a game, that's insulting. Think of something. Think of something. Think of like the most important thing to you, something that's really important to you. If somebody diminished that, if somebody belittled that, how would that make you feel? I mean, come on, it's just your kids. When you care about something so much, it defies description. My ex-wife used to ask, why do you love me? Why? Who can answer that question? I love you because I love you. You can even go on to make a whole list of reasons why you love that person, but in reality, it still comes down to something you can't really define, right? It's the same thing with sports. I mean, I know it might be silly equating love with sports, but when you think about it, your emotions, what you care about and all that, I mean, you can't tell why. You can't tell why something is important to you. I mean, if something's important to you, it's just important to you, right? I mean, for you, whatever it is, fill in the blank. It's part of the meaning of life. It's important, period, end of story. And even if you couldn't care less about sports, and notice I said couldn't care less, right? Could not care less. I care so little, I could not care less. What really bugs me is when people say, I could care less. I could care less. You hear people say that all the time, right? I could care less, when they really mean I could not care less. It's exactly the opposite to say, I could care less. That really bugs me. Why? I don't know. It just does. And even if you couldn't care less about sports, I mean, surely there's something you're passionate about, right? And stop calling me Shirley. So this last weekend, during one of the most storied rivalries in college football, USC, UCLA, even though it really meant nothing as far as bowl games go, it meant something to me. And it meant something to the players, and to the coaches, and to the fans, and everybody else who was watching, the thousands of people in the stands, and the millions of people watching on TV. It meant something to all of us, right? So then why did I fall asleep? I have no idea.